Hi, everyone, and welcome to Safe Space. This is the podcast where we empower spiritual entrepreneurs like you to 10x their impact, confidence, and freedom. And today we're here because I want to ask John some questions about his relationship. Here in the Safe Space, we're all about being brave and being the main character of your life. So today I want to ask you, John, about your relationship because we met years ago when you were in a different relationship. I've seen you grow so much since then and have different experiences. How did you come to meet your wife, love of your life? And what was like different in the beginning that caught your attention?
Yeah, really, really good question. Thank you. It's so interesting. I just love that we're focusing on the main character thing here because I feel like that's something I've definitely been embracing. And I feel like that's the key to getting out of codependent, and shades of codependent relationships is like just taking ownership over your life and being the decision maker, right? If you're a key decision maker in your life, if your life comes from your own decisions, then you're the main character of your life. And the opposite of that is giving the power away and being codependent. And that was me, right? I was a mix. I think a lot of us have small degrees of codependency or even medium degrees of codependency that we bring into our relationships by accident. And if your style of codependency matches with your partner's, then you feel like a good match, right? And so I had that. And, one of my relationships that I was in since early 2020 um, was a really, really good growth vehicle and stepping stone for me, in which I learned a lot. I also helped her a lot. And I broke up with her many, many, many times. And I kept not knowing how to fully move on while I was single was really the problem. And I kept going back to it because I would compare. We had a lot of intimacy, and she knew how to surrender. She was like really excellent at surrendering in like a feminine way, and so if that felt really good to me, and it was just hard to give that up actually. And whenever I would date other women, a lot of modern women and a lot of women don't really understand how to surrender, and or there's just not enough trust in a newer relationship to surrender that deeply. And so I kept like by accident, or even, yeah, just like without even realizing, comparing a new relationship or dating with the thing that I had that was working really well to some extent. And it was hard to move on. So I think like the growth happened. Um, yeah, let me tell you about a turning point moment. I went to a personal growth and marketing conference called Funnel Hacking Live, like a ClickFunnels event. I'm sure you've heard of it. Um, so Russell Brunson is the entrepreneur who created these, and he's a very, very, very spiritual person that I happen to have a spiritual connection to for some reason. We have the same birthday, and I just feel like he's in my lineage. Like he's one of my spiritual fathers, I believe. And so for whatever reason. And so I went to the event for the first time, and I went to it with my ex, even though we were probably, I don't know if we were together or not when we went to it, but one of the speakers there said something that just like struck me to my core. And his name is Garrett J. White. He's like a men's relationship coach, basically. And he's like, man, the reason why you don't have the life that you want is that you're lying. You need to stop lying. The reason why you don't have it yet is because you're lying to yourself or you're lying to somebody else. And I just like, it like called me out. And I was like, I don't even want to be with this other person. I really, really, really don't want to be with her. And I
Mm.
was like, I'm lying. Every moment that I'm with her, I'm lying because it looks like I want to, but I don't. And so that was the last time that we broke up, was during that event. I broke up with her, but we had broken up at least 6 or 7, maybe even 10 times without even formally getting back together. So like, how crazy is that? Like, I would break up with her, and then through circumstances or my compassion or just the fact that we were living together or working together or something, we just like, I just wouldn't move on. And then without even asking her back out, we would just get back into something that felt like the relationship again. And then I would realize again, oh, I can't do this. And I'd break up with her again. But I never even asked her out in between all those times. It was just like a sequence of like 7 probably times. And that was the last one. And something else that Garrett White said was like, he's like, man, we build businesses, we build our body, we build all these other things. But what we really want deep down is you want your queen by your side. And that resonated so deeply with me. It shook me to my core. And I was like, yes, that is the truth. That is what I want. And I just gave myself permission to like prioritize that over other things. And I'll tell you one more thing. In my, we'll call it the toxic relationship that I moved on from, which was good in some ways, but toxic in others. We were both making a compromise. And I realized this months into it, but it still took me a while to like fully reverse my pattern. And the compromise was I was trading the relationship for business growth because we were in business together and our business usually was working pretty well. Our combined business worked better than my solo business. And so I was sort of like compromising and like, okay, I'll do the relationship for the sake of the business success. But she was trading the other way. She was like trading, okay, I'll do the business, but she wanted the relationship, I wanted the business, and we both were exchanging.
Yeah.
And it's tricky.
Right? It becomes very conditional. It's not like pure love of just like devotion and like dedication and giving. It's like, okay, I'll do this if you do that, and I'll do this if you like this, like a trade. It's like a business.
It was a trade. That's right. It was a trade. And that's why she didn't put as much effort into the business as I did. And that's why I didn't put as much effort into the relationship as she did. Although I tried to help her a lot, but I also was totally fine with not being in the relationship. It wasn't really what I wanted. And I knew that right away, actually. But it was just like, it was pretty good. So I just kept going with it.
It was good enough, right? Sometimes the relationships are, when it's like average or above average or good enough, it's more dangerous because then it's like harder to leave. Like it's harder to say no to a good thing than like a really painful bad experience. So that's like, I want to honor you for your courage to saying no to things that were actually just working and they were okay, they were good, they were going, right?
Was going. Yeah, I mean, like objectively speaking, if someone were to look at it from the outside, like a lot of people would say that it was pretty damn good. Like we had a lot of good things about it, but it wasn't what I wanted deep down. And so I had to move on. And so through moving on, I had to go through my own journey of being alone and trying to date in the modern world. Like dating in the modern world, I think is one of the more painful things, unless you're part of spiritual conscious communities, which, you know, I wasn't really that connected to. I was online, but just not in person. So I guess what happened with my wife is I met her online and I had met a couple people online. So meeting somebody online and transitioning it to in person is something I've done a couple times now. And I don't really mind it. I didn't want the basis of the relationship to be online. I didn't want it to be an online relationship, but I think meeting online is, you know, to me, it's become normal because I'm actually, my social life is really more activated online than it's been in person. I've been moving around, I've been nomadic. And so I've kept my online community really strong and my in-person community, I just haven't put that much effort into it, to be honest. So we met online. So she's only 22 years old. She was 21 when we met. And the interesting thing was like when we met, we only met because she was sharing my videos online like I would do like lives and stuff, and she would like share them, and she was learning from them because I was teaching about spiritual business type stuff. And so she only caught my attention because she was sharing my stuff, and I was like, oh, thank you. And I thanked her for it. And I just felt inspired. So I gave her like extra course content that I only give to clients, and she was trying to use it. And that was it. It was just a very pure gift, and I didn't expect anything back. And she was, I think, sharing it in a pure way without expecting anything. But I think we both looked at each other and thought, oh, I think this is interesting. I think maybe this could be something, even though we were both seeing other people at the time when we first met. And it wasn't really even a thought in my head. Um, Although she seemed familiar, like all that happened at first was she seemed kind of familiar. But then we had a couple of video calls, and the second one, I just realized that I was attracted to her, and I just thought there was some energy there. And so I did something really, I think, special and important on the second call. It was a very short call. And I just basically expressed that I was interested in her, even though there was a girl on the way to visit my house from Jamaica that I had met online, and
Mhm.
and she was dating somebody else. So she did something really great. So I forget exactly how I worded it, but I was like, "Hey, I think that maybe we could be more than just business friends. Like maybe there could be something together with us." I said it like that, and she kind of like avoided the question. Ha ha ha, yeah, ha ha. Okay, like she kind of avoided it without saying yes or no. And I just kept pushing it until she had to say something about it. And she's like, "Oh, I'm dating somebody right now."
Mm.
But what happened was she knew how I felt, which was the main thing. I think as a man, that's one of the main things that we have to learn to trust ourselves with, is just letting the woman know how you feel, and just doing it without caring what happens, what she says. You're not looking for an answer. You just need her to know how you feel, and that's it. And I did it, and I knew that she knew, and then I felt happy, and I was able to move on. And but her knowing that planted the thought in her head, and it gave her courage later when we weren't talking or in any communication to break up with the person that she was with, because she knew it just wasn't good enough and whatever. She told me that it was helpful that she knew that the person that she did like, which apparently was me, felt the same way.
Mm.
So there's that. Um, what else? Oh yeah, but I also really admired that when I did push the topic a little bit and kind of really call her out to answer me on it, she said that she was in a relationship, and I knew that I was better than this other guy, right? But she still was loyal to him, which gave me a lot of trust in her. It let me know her character, right? If she's willing to do that, she didn't flirt with me. She didn't do anything inappropriate. She was clear, right? So
And
that, what's that?
she had like her boundaries up. She was like,
Yeah,
someone, I cannot even like answer that question. Like it's like I'm
she
not
had,
able to answer that question.
yeah,
Right.
she had boundaries. Even though, from my perspective, I was like better than this other guy, she still was clear and had boundaries and was able to say that. And now I knew about her character, and that helped me to trust her for later. So those are a couple cool things. And then we kind of stopped talking. And then actually what happened was I was dating somebody else. And all of a sudden, like she just came into my mind. And I just felt like this like sexual electricity for her, and didn't know what that was really, but I just kind of ended up leaving the other person, and I was single. And then when I was single, I reached out to her and I said, "Hey, I'm single now. Um, what about you? And hey, let's do something." And she's like, "Okay, let's, get to know each other or whatever." And then I requested that it become exclusive. And she was like, okay. And so once it was exclusive, then it started feeling more like a relationship. And then it, we kind of made a container for it without putting expectations on it. And it turns out that we liked each other and that there was a lot there. And we discovered all of that. And it became this thing that started to feel really important, really significant. And as I shared in the last episode, while meditating once, my spiritual guide basically communicated to me how important it was that I be with this girl and that we get married. Like her name came in as Jessica Muller, which is her name with my last name on it, and so it was like it
Oh,
felt like yeah, it was like extremely spiritually significant. And like I said, I got blessings. I call it blessings. I got that powerful of blessings when I first realized I needed to become a monk. And there's been a couple key moments, but like this was on par with all those as far as how powerful it was. Like Goosebumps is good. This was like, minutes and minutes and minutes of just being fully in this vibration of like this is it. It was powerful. And it doesn't happen to me that much anymore. To at least, yeah, to that level. So um that helped me to make the decision. And then we decided to get married. I sort of asked her to marry me online, which I think we did for visa purposes. One of the reasons for getting married was visa purposes, I think. But it's true that the commitment is there. We want to be with each other. Marriage is a pretty good vehicle for that. I don't think it has to be marriage. I think that the real vehicle is sacred commitment. I think that's the real thing that people need is a sacred commitment to be with each other. I don't think marriage is the key. I don't think it has to be marriage. I think in this case it had to be because she needed my last name because of the spiritual reason, but also for immigration purposes or whatever, visa purposes. So that's why we got married. But otherwise, neither one of us really cared about marriage, I don't think.
mhm, mhm. And so this happened before you ever met her in person, right? So how was the experience when you guys met in person? Like, was it confirmed? Was it scary? Like, it's still, I think, brave. Like, I understand you had all the signs and everything, and you felt her and the commitment on the container, all of that. And still, it's a little scary to do that, no?
Not for me. It wasn't scary at all for me. I'm a
Mm,
man, so nothing is that scary, right? Like as a man, there's so little risk
mhm,
in relationships. Like you can't really get hurt. And so I wasn't scared. Traveling to Morocco was a 22-hour, or it was more than that. It was like 20, it was like I had to take 3 flights. It was a long thing, but I've traveled a lot. And
yeah.
so, no, because of the confirmation that I got, I was not scared even a little bit. I was not even a little scared. And um, so I got there, and her dad and her sister met me at the airport, and I got to meet them, which he was very nice. And so the biggest thing in the beginning was our size difference, right? I'm 6'2", she's 5'2".
Mm,
So, and also her dad has tried to keep her as like a little girl, right? You talked about being the parent of the other person's inner child and you were your little girl. She has been a little girl too. And like, not just in a way of like the past, it hasn't been that long. Like her dad has treated her like the little girl and given her very little responsibility, let her do a lot of things.
the
And
little princess.
also, what's that?
She was a little princess, like spoiled and like doted, and
A
that's
little bit,
sweet.
a little bit,
Yeah.
yeah, a little bit. And he just for him to feel safe, he couldn't really face the fact that she's like a grown woman with sexuality and whatever. They're in Morocco. Women are supposed to like cover their hair and not wear things, but she doesn't do that. She never has done those traditional things. But
Mm.
like her dad has been afraid to let her blossom into a real woman. And so he's kept her as a little girl in like a little doll box. And she was dressed up like a little girl. with clothes that were too big for her. And so like the day we met, that was the only thing that was interesting about it. But like, um, no, we like got along right away. There was nothing really, um, there was a lot of familiarity. Um, I think some of the scary parts for me were like being vulnerable in the relationship, including before I got there and including since I've been in Morocco. Like I'm used to getting my way a lot. And in relationships, I've always been able to get leverage and get power through being willing to walk away. Right. As soon as I was willing, I would be like willing to walk away and leave a relationship. And then the other person, if they wanted it, they'd be like, fine, whatever. And I'd be able to win pretty much any confrontation that I wanted to win simply because I was literally not attached and willing to walk away.
Or committed,
And
right?
what's that?
Or committed, right? This is like you've never been this committed to anyone because
Right.
nobody felt this good.
That's
So
right.
like a different container, different type of commitment and deeper
Yeah.
connect. So it's calling you forward.
Yes, that's right. That's been the hard part and the scary part and the vulnerable part for me is letting go of my need to be to win, and just being really clear like I'm not willing to walk away. Like that's been one of the pillars of the relationship is like I'm not willing to walk away and therefore I need to grow and therefore we've had to communicate about things. Whereas before I didn't have to say much. I was just like I'll leave if this doesn't change and then either things would change or I'd leave. Now we have to, we're both, as you, I think you mentioned this in the last one, like it's both like, hey, we're in and let's talk about this. Let's figure this out. And that's been scary and hard and good and uncomfortable and all the hard things in the relationship are pretty much happening there. But there's other stuff too, but that's the main one.
Wow, beautiful. Wow, I'm so happy for you and thank you so much for sharing your story. It's so beautiful too. I think one of the points that I really liked was that, you know, you giving yourself permission and like really claiming your standard of like, I am not gonna settle for this type of like, I do this, you do that, or just like holding on to a part that's good in the relationship and kind of accepting what is like average or below your standard, right? You have to make that powerful decision to really create space, say no, no, no to a lot of good things to create space for something grand that you deeply probably knew that you desired and deserved. So yeah, congratulations. I honor you for doing that.
Thank you. Yeah, it fed my ego. It fed my ego, which made it very, very, very difficult to walk away from certain things about it. But yeah, I've grown a lot, and yeah, I feel really good about where I'm at. It is working out. It's been hard. I'll just say for everyone listening, the other really hard part for me has been what I've had to give up professionally, not because of the relationship, but because of my circumstances. So I got to Morocco, and we just didn't have good internet for a while, and I have solved that now. But for a while, we just didn't, and that caused me really big problems in my business. It made it harder for me to promise that I could be there for clients. It made it harder to get things done, and it was just I just went through this deep pause, including having to question like who I was, because I would tie my identity to my professionalism, but also to my ability to work, my ability to work hard, my ability to work extra, my ability to put in the extra mile. That's been all part of my identity and how I see myself professionally. And it's been a validating factor for me. And then I had to like a lot of those things got peeled away, not because I wanted them to. I thought I was going to be in Morocco for like 10 days. I didn't think I was going to be here that long. But I thought as soon as we got her visa, or as soon as we got married, we could leave, but we have to wait for the visa. I told her I wouldn't leave until she got it. So um, I've, because of that, I've had to find who am I without my ability to be productive. And that's been even harder. That surrender has been even harder than the one in the relationship about giving up the need to win or whatever. So
it's so powerful, the attachments we have to identities. In the last episode I mentioned like having this attachment of being a mom, being a wife, right? So that's like, it's like one of the bravest things is to let go of your attachments that kind of is feeding your ego, feeding, you know, or feeding a need that you are not able to feed within yourself. We are outsourcing certain things through those identities, and it's just not helpful. So that must be a lot of growth for you. Thank you for sharing that. Anything else you want to say, any like tips before we wrap up?
well, yeah, I mean, just something that we talked about last time is just being willing to let go of, good for great, being willing to let go of great for excellent, and so on. Just being honest, like maybe this is advice for men, or maybe it's advice for everybody, but the thing that helped me was you're not in the place that you want to be because you're lying, either to yourself or to somebody else. And when I felt like I was seen in that, and the space was held for me, and I just was able to like admit it. Yes, that's true. And as soon as we get honest with ourselves, we can move on in the right way. And then that plus prioritizing the sacred union as like the most important thing, and building from there. I mean, these are a couple important pieces, I think. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much. This was so fun to hear your story and these insights. And guys, this is a safe space. As the name suggests, we talk about everything about growing your business and creating the freedom in your relationships, in your business, in your life expansion. So if you're listening and if you want to learn more about what we do, how we do it, how we can help you, just click the link below and we will see you in the next episode.